Then I'm honored to invite Bian Majadleh, the director of Kol Zchut, All Rights in Arabic, and a graduate student in the Gender Studies in Bar-Ilan, to present the shared activities that are part of this project. To be here today, I would like to thank the Rachman Center, to Gilit and Galit, and I'd like to thank the EU for this important grant. Eden is also a VP in Kol Zchut. I'd also like to thank Einat Raviv, who's the Director of Partnerships, who coordinated this entire project between the Hebrew and the Arabic. Kol Zchut is a free internet website. This past year, it has served almost over 5 million unique users in both Hebrew and Arabic in both websites together. The goal of this website is to provide information on all the rights in all the areas for free to every citizen of the State of Israel. We are delighted to tell you that since June of 2017, we've been working with the funding from the Ministry of Justice, the JDC, and the Ministry for Social Equality. It's not easy. We're thankful for that, and it helps us to accelerate our translations into Arabic, to reach more partners, to provide more instruction sessions, and to do what it is that we have been doing since 2009, but in a larger scale. So, why does Kol Zchut or Kol El-Haq in Arabic exist? On average, in Israel, as well as in other OECD countries, only half of the rights are fully being exhausted. These are rights that exist in the government ministries. There's a budget for them. They are in the law books. But why is that the case? For several reasons. There's not enough information about the right. People don't even know that they deserve this right. It's not that they know but don't know how to fully tap into it. They simply sometimes don't know that it exists. Another reason is that the realization process is usually perceived to be very complex, unclear, very complicated. There's no reason I'll succeed in it, so I'll give up from the outset, even though I do know that I deserve it. Another reason is that this information is written in legalese, in legal language. It exists in various government ministries, the National Insurance Institute, and the goal of this website, Kol Zchut, the uniqueness of this website is that it brings together, it concentrates all the information on one issue in one place. Let's say the parents that have a child with disability or an illness, they receive a disability benefit. We go to the NII and receive the allowance. But at this one situation, in illness, there are many other rights. For example, reduction in payment of municipal taxes. And this they have to work out with the municipality. And also various tax credit points for the parents. That has to do with employment, educational rights. And if I go to one ministry, the ministry tells me you will receive this allowance from us. But I don't know what you can get from other ministries. That's the added value of Kol Zchut. For example, if I am a single mother, I can log into the portal for single parents and find all the information which is relevant and true for my situation as a mother. If I have children, what do the children deserve to receive because of my situation? This is the uniqueness. This is the added value. So this percentage I just talked about regarding the realization of rights, it is an estimate. This is a figure from previous years. It's not maybe 100% accurate, but we do know that it's very high, the rate of realization of rights, especially if we're talking about disempowered populations, and especially if we're talking about women. So when I speak to groups of women, I know that this website is very necessary because we are often, the agents for rights as women within our families. So that's about this slide. Now I'd like to show you the work that we've done in collaboration with the Rachman Center. But before that, Miri, you ended on a personal note. So first of all, good luck. I'd like to start this part on a personal note. Throughout my adult life, whenever I would arrive at certain situations, I knew that I would encounter inequality in certain situations. I always knew either how to obtain the tools to overcome that, or I would consult with people how to obtain these tools, until 6 years ago. This day led me back to the day that I worked on my ketubah, my marital document before the wedding, and I felt that this was kind of a brick wall. You're 26 years old. It doesn't matter who you are, who your family is, and what kind of freedom that gave me. Here, you want to get married? Well, there's only one way to do it, and for me, civil marriage wasn't something I was willing to consider because it would have entailed certain social sanctions I didn't want to be subject to, and there were men. There was my spouse and my husband. It was like I moved from my husband's responsibility, from my father's responsibility to my husband's. There were two witnesses. A woman cannot be a witness, so there were my two uncles. So I was the only woman in that situation. The women sat separately, and the clergyman came, and when the clergyman comes, you try to act as if you don't exist, and you have the men there, and he is willing to transfer me to my spouse. And this was a situation, and whenever my husband wants to annoy me and he's being cynical, he says, I bought you. And he's right, because this is a situation that even women who are trailblazers in other situations, they confront this situation and they feel so belittled, and this is why this is something that I think is very important for both Jewish and Arab women, because according to the religious law, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, you're belittled in this situation, you're being transferred, there's an issue of ownership, and this is my own personal angle of why I felt connected to this throughout this project. So, two main areas were written here. One was indeed marriage. These are things that did not exist previously. Maybe they did exist under employment, such as, tax credit points, but we devoted 2 portals. That's how we call it. We devoted 2 portals to it. And the news we bring here within the marriage, if we're talking about a civil marriage, that means that we've renewed certain points here. There's also the issue of marriage, couplehood agreement. That's one issue, and another issue is same-sex marriage. The information about this is a bit complicated. It's written sometimes in very odd language, and the entire issue of regulating the economic or financial relations when you approach this complicated partnership of marriage. It is perceived to be a natural situation, but what happens when something goes wrong? These are things that need to be addressed and regulated in advance, and you can see here we have a prenup, a prenuptial financial agreement, the issue of payments, leaves on the occasion of marriage, and various benefits and perks for married couples, for example, in the field of housing. And these are links that link you to the pages we have in our website about these rights. And the second part is divorce, and you can find a link to that up there on the left side. So this is the second area. And here, once again, there's the economic issue, dividing up a budgetary pension between a couple, the issue of alimony, parenting. It links you to things. Some of these things we already had in Kol Zchut. We promised to have them: alimony, alimony for women, get or divorce refusal. This is another issue, imposing sanctions on a man who refuses to grant a divorce. And this is that small place that perhaps sometimes does allow women to act, that a man is not at utter liberty to do what he wants in this situation. There's a parents portal. That's a separate portal that addresses various issues that stem from the divorce situation, the best interest of the child, and decision making deciding on significant matters such as transferring to another school or transferring to another doctor, that when parents are divorced, they need to reach a consensual agreement on on these matters regarding their child. Now I'd like to go back to the Arabic up there at the top. Let's scroll up. That's divorce in Arabic. This is a divorce and marriage portal that we prepared. It's all in one place. There are several concepts here, or terms that are key concepts when I go back to that place where a woman feels limited or restricted. There are three concepts. One is el-ede. It's like a cooling off period. I am not an attorney. I'm no expert on these matters. I'm just describing it briefly so that we can understand what we're talking about. It's a period for a woman who's divorced or a widow. The period is determined based on various parameters. It's the period in which a woman cannot marry, cannot even leave the house during that period, according to the religion, to the religious law. El-Asmi, that's a concept that addresses the power of the woman to divorce. If it can prove in the Sharia court that the husband has abandoned her, is not much at home, or that he's being violent towards her, and in certain cases even economic violence. Tauzavi, that's discipline, that a woman actually loses her power to receive alimony if the husband proves in court that she wasn't disciplined during their married life together. Whether we agree with these concepts or not, these concepts are used and women need them. So any criticism we could have about these concepts, I mean discipline, and it's just like, you know, in Hebrew there are various concepts like bo'ala, he who has sexual intercourse with her. These are the terms, so these are the terms we use, and when we translate, we try and look and see how women write and how people, when they search for these concepts, how they would write them. Because it's important, first of all, to know that I deserve these rights and then to realize them. This is our project, which we started thanks to this important grant, and we're continuing with it. If there are any legislation updates or anything else that is added, that's, you know, not the end of the story, it's just the beginning. And instruction was given to Arab women in the Lod Community Center. These women are agents of change for their communities, and the Apartari organization, where women are doing things for themselves, for their children, and point at changes. Thanks to the training sessions, some of them provided by Kol Zchut. I'd like to say that in general you are invited to use this website. I think it's relevant to each and every one of us in every field, whether it has to do with employment and workers' rights, illnesses, disabilities, the more difficult situations in life, but it's also relevant to happy occasions such as marriage, pregnancy, having a new baby, starting a new job. So please use it, pass it along to anyone you know. It also has to do with violence, sexual harassment. No, we don't have a center that provides consulting that consults people. We have two channels. One is the website that's written in very clear and simple language, and it's very easy to identify the target population and the process of realizing the right, and the sessions and workshops we give to various agents such as the welfare offices, etc. Yes, I'm sorry, I cannot hear the questions if they're not spoken to a microphone. Yes, you simply need to type into the internet, Kol Zchut. Sorry, maybe the speaker can repeat the question. Look, in our team, the team And the people who write and edit these materials are lawyers. Each is an expert in his or her field, and they check in the Nevo, in legislation updates, and now with the issue of disability allowances that have gone up, we already logged the changes into the website. I have no doubt, because I see I'm talking in general, but within the Arab sector, I can see that there are organizations that are being established that enable different kinds of marriages, Mishpacha Chadasha, new family, and Al-Kayan in the Arab sector. And I see more and more couples who try other options, such as a civil marriage. Like I said, marriage seems to be a very natural situation, but we need to be very much aware of what it is we are entering. Today, people read more, and they don't just sign the ketubah without looking into it. In the Arab sector, yes. Not much, but yes. Just like the Jews do it. Yes, yes, once it's civil, there's no difference. When Jews get divorced, even if the marriage was a civil marriage, they have to divorce through the rabbinical courts. What's the situation in the Arab sector? Yes, yes. Okay, then thank you very much. I'd like to thank